Tonight, we will tell you a story of secrets whispered in shadowed laboratories, of the human quest to master nature itself, a story of alchemy in medieval Europe. You will learn how ancient knowledge, passed down through forgotten texts, ignited a fervent desire to transform the ordinary into the extraordinary. We will uncover the true ambition behind the alchemist's furnace, beyond just the turning of lead into gold. You will discover the mythical philosopher's stone, what powers it was believed to hold, and why its pursuit captivated kings and scholars alike. We will explore the Elixir of Life, an elusive potion promising eternal youth and health, and witness the dangerous experiments conducted in pursuit of these ultimate goals. You will meet the brilliant minds, often misunderstood, who toiled in secret, from the Arab scholars who preserved ancient wisdom to the European monks and physicians who pushed the boundaries of what was known. This is not just a history of a lost art. It is a journey into the heart of human curiosity, a quest for ultimate power and the surprising origins of modern science. Oh, and if you enjoy these stories designed to gently guide you into restful sleep, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel. New stories for sleep are released here every day. All right, find a comfortable spot, let your shoulders drop, and take a slow, deep breath. Feel your body sink into the soft comfort beneath you as we begin our journey. Our story begins in a world far removed from our own, a world where knowledge was fragmented and the very nature of matter seemed a profound mystery. Yet it was a world brimming with an insatiable hunger for understanding and transformation. Today, as we delve deeper into the alchemical secrets of medieval Europe, we must first understand that the quest for transformation and understanding of matter was not born in a vacuum. While the nascent stirrings of curiosity began to take hold in the West, a vibrant intellectual tradition had already flourished for centuries in another part of the world, a tradition that would eventually become the very lifeblood of European alchemy. Imagine a world where scholarship was not just tolerated, but celebrated, where ancient texts, often lost to European memory, were meticulously preserved, translated, and built upon. This was the Islamic world, stretching from Spain across North Africa to the Middle East, during what historians often refer to as its golden age. While Europe was experiencing a period of relative intellectual stagnation, often dubbed the Dark Ages, the scholars of the Islamic caliphates were engaged in a tireless pursuit of knowledge. They translated the works of Greek philosophers like Aristotle and Plato, the medical treatises of Galen and Hippocrates, and the astronomical observations of Ptolemy. Crucially for our story, they also preserved and greatly advanced the ancient art of alchemy, drawing from Egyptian, Greek, Persian, and Indian traditions. One of the most influential figures to emerge from this rich intellectual environment was Jābir ibn Ḥayyān, known in the Latin West as Jābir. Living in the 8th century, Jābir is often considered the father of early chemistry in the Islamic world. He moved beyond mere mystical speculation, emphasizing the importance of experimentation and observation. He developed sophisticated laboratory techniques, including distillation, filtration, and crystallization, many of which are still fundamental to chemistry today. His theories, particularly the mercury-sulfur theory, proposed that all metals were formed from varying proportions of mercury and sulfur, provided a theoretical framework for the idea of transmutation, the belief that one substance could be changed into another. This was not just about making gold. It was about understanding the fundamental composition of matter and its potential for transformation. Other notable scholars like Al-Razi or Rhazes in the 9th century further contributed to the practical side of alchemy, meticulously documenting chemical processes and substances, and even discovering new compounds like alcohol and sulfuric acid, though their full implications would only be understood much later. The transfer of this accumulated knowledge from the Islamic world to Europe was not a sudden flood, but a gradual, persistent flow, primarily through several key conduits. The Crusades, while military conflicts, did expose some Europeans to the advanced cultures of the East, bringing back a limited awareness of their scientific achievements. However, the most significant gateway for alchemical knowledge was the Iberian Peninsula, specifically Islamic Spain, known as Al-Andalus. For centuries, this region was a beacon of intellectual light, a place where Muslim, Jewish, and Christian scholars often coexisted and collaborated, fostering an environment of unparalleled learning. Cities like Toledo, Seville, and Cordoba became bustling centers of translation, drawing scholars from across Europe. Imagine the dusty scriptoria and the quiet libraries of Toledo, where dedicated individuals embarked on the monumental task of translating hundreds of Arabic texts into Latin. These translators, often working in teams, painstakingly rendered complex scientific and philosophical concepts into a language accessible to European scholars. It was here that major alchemical treatises, including those attributed to Jābir ibn Ḥayyān and Al-Razi, first became available in Latin. This was a critical turning point. The European mind, eager for new understanding but lacking the foundational texts, suddenly gained access to centuries of accumulated knowledge and experimental data. This influx provided not just theories about transmutation, but also practical instructions for constructing apparatus, preparing reagents, and performing specific operations like calcination and sublimation. The impact was profound. European scholars, who had largely relied on fragmented classical texts and their own nascent observations, now had a comprehensive body of work to study, analyze, and replicate. The Arabic alchemists had not only preserved the ancient knowledge, but had also critically engaged with it, refining theories and adding their own empirical findings. This systematic approach, emphasizing observation and experimentation, began to influence European thinkers, slowly chipping away at purely speculative approaches to nature. The concept of the alchemical quest, previously vague and shrouded in mysticism, gained a more defined theoretical underpinning and a set of practical methodologies. The Arab contributions transformed alchemy from a scattered collection of ancient rituals and beliefs into a more coherent, albeit still esoteric discipline, setting the stage for its vigorous pursuit across medieval Europe. It was from these eastern seeds that the European alchemical tree would grow, branching out into new theories and ambitious experiments, forever changing the way humanity viewed the potential of matter. The quest for gold, the elixir, and the philosopher's stone now had a richer heritage and a clearer, though still challenging, path forward. The ancient dream of transformation was reawakened with new vigor, fueled by the intellectual wealth of the East. This was not merely the transmission of facts, it was the transfer of a mindset, a way of approaching the world with both intellectual rigor and a sense of wonder, paving the way for the extraordinary journeys of the medieval European alchemists themselves. The foundations were laid deep and wide for the grand experiment that was medieval alchemy, an experiment that would stretch across centuries and transform the intellectual landscape of the continent. The echoes of Arabic scholarship would resonate in European laboratories for generations, guiding hands that sought to unlock the very secrets of creation itself. The path was now open. European alchemy was profoundly shaped by the vibrant intellectual tradition of the Islamic Golden Age, which preserved, translated, and significantly advanced ancient alchemical knowledge. This crucial intellectual transfer, primarily via Islamic Spain, provided Europe with the foundational theories and practical techniques that transformed its understanding of matter. With these new ideas and methods, the most enduring and widely recognized ambition of medieval alchemists solidified: the quest for gold. You see, for the alchemists, gold was not merely a symbol of wealth or power. It represented perfection, purity, and the ultimate state of matter. They believed that all metals, from the common and seemingly base lead or tin to the noble silver and gold, were essentially composed of the same fundamental substance, a concept often referred to as prime matter. The differences between them in this view were not intrinsic to their essence, but rather a result of their varying degrees of purity, maturity, and celestial influence. Lead, dull and heavy, was seen as an imperfect, diseased, or immature form of gold, trapped in a state of impurity. Gold, by contrast, was the zenith of metallic existence, untarnished, incorruptible, and eternally radiant. The goal of transmutation, therefore, was not simply to create riches out of nothing. It was a profound philosophical and even spiritual undertaking. Alchemists believed they were assisting nature in its slow, ongoing process of perfecting metals. Just as a seed slowly ripens into a fruit, they theorized that base metals, given the right conditions and catalysts, could be accelerated in their natural journey towards the perfection of gold. This process was often termed ripening or digestion, and it was central to their understanding of the cosmos. To transmute lead into gold was, in their minds, to understand and replicate the very mechanisms of creation, to delve into the secrets of God's workshop. The practical motivations, however, were undeniably powerful. Imagine the allure for a king or a noble. Unlimited wealth would mean unparalleled power, the ability to fund armies, build magnificent cathedrals, or simply live in unimaginable luxury. Many rulers, facing constant financial strains from wars or lavish courts, were more than willing to patronize alchemists, providing them with laboratories, materials, and protection, all in the hope of unlocking the secret of endless riches. The promise of gold offered a tangible, immediate reward that resonated deeply with the material concerns of the age. Laboratories, often tucked away in secluded corners of castles or monastic complexes, would be filled with the clinking of glass retorts, the gentle hiss of furnaces, and the pungent smell of various minerals, as alchemists meticulously worked with their crucibles and alembics, trying to coax the hidden golden essence from common lead. But beyond the mere acquisition of wealth, the alchemist's quest for gold was also driven by a deep intellectual curiosity and a desire for knowledge. They were not just artisans, they were natural philosophers, attempting to unravel the fundamental laws governing the transformation of matter. Their meticulous observations, their systematic heating and cooling, dissolving and precipitating, were early forms of experimental science. Every successful color change in a flask, every unexpected crystallization was a clue, a piece of the grand puzzle that promised to reveal the universal principles of change and stability. They sought not just the formula for gold, but the universal key to unlock all of nature's secrets. The ability to transform one substance into another implied a mastery over the very fabric of existence, a profound understanding that transcended mere metallurgy. It was a quest for knowledge as much as it was a quest for riches, a blend of the practical and the profoundly philosophical, a true testament to the intellectual spirit of the medieval age. This pursuit of the ultimate metallic perfection was inextricably linked to their understanding of the universe, and it laid the groundwork for even grander ambitions, particularly the development of the legendary Philosopher's Stone. Medieval alchemists pursued gold not merely for wealth, but because it symbolized the ultimate perfection of matter, believing they could assist nature in transforming base metals towards this ideal state. This quest was a complex blend of philosophical and spiritual aspirations, practical desires for riches, and a deep intellectual curiosity that fostered early experimental science. Beyond the mere creation of gold, there lay an even grander, almost mythical ambition that captivated the alchemical mind, the creation of the Philosopher's Stone. You might imagine a literal stone, perhaps a jewel or a rock, but for alchemists it was a legendary substance, often described not as a simple physical object in the common sense, but as a highly concentrated essence, a magical agent, or a universal catalyst. It was the ultimate goal, the magnum opus or great work of alchemy, representing the pinnacle of their art and science, a secret so profound that it was believed to be revealed only to the most dedicated, the most virtuous, and the most pure of heart. This secrecy was not merely to guard against rivals or charlatans, but also to ensure that such immense power would not fall into unworthy hands. The Philosopher's Stone was believed to possess two primary extraordinary properties, each holding immense power and significance. Its most famous attribute, the one that fueled countless experiments and captured the imagination of kings and commoners alike, was its ability to perform the perfect transmutation. With but a tiny fragment, a mere touch, or even a subtle emanation, this miraculous substance was said to transform base metals, like dull lead, common tin, or everyday copper, into pure, gleaming gold, the most noble and incorruptible of all metals. Imagine the sheer audacity of such a claim, to take something common and transform it into the most precious of all substances, often with an incredible multiplying effect, where a small amount of the stone could transmute a vast quantity of base metal. This wasn't just about accumulating wealth. It was about mastering the very fabric of existence, understanding the hidden laws of nature, and proving humanity's profound capacity to elevate and perfect matter. Alchemists believed that nature itself was constantly striving towards perfection, slowly turning base metals into gold over vast stretches of time, a process they called maturation. The stone then was seen as a way to accelerate this natural process, to bring about in hours or days what nature accomplished in millennia. It was a profound intervention, a collaboration with the very essence of creation, a way to cook nature's work to its perfect conclusion. But the stone's extraordinary powers did not end there. It was also intimately linked to the concept of eternal life and perfect health, extending its influence from the material world to the realm of human vitality. Many alchemists believed that the Philosopher's Stone held the secret to creating the Elixir of Life, often seen as a liquid form of the stone itself, or a direct emanation from it. This panacea, this universal cure, was capable of curing all diseases, restoring youth, prolonging life indefinitely, or even granting true immortality. This aspect of the stone elevated its importance beyond mere material gain, touching upon the deepest human desires for overcoming illness, frailty, and the inevitability of death. The quest for the stone, therefore, became a dual pursuit, intertwined and inseparable. The transformation of base metals into gold, known as the lesser work, or the white stone, capable of transmuting silver, and the creation of the elixir of life and the complete gold transmutation, considered the greater work, or the red stone. The symbolic significance of the Philosopher's Stone was truly profound, transcending simple chemistry and entering the realm of spiritual philosophy. It wasn't just a chemical reagent, it was a powerful symbol of spiritual enlightenment, a representation of perfect wisdom, and the ultimate union of opposites. The reconciliation of spirit and matter, male and female, sun and moon, chaos and order. Alchemists often spoke of it in allegorical and highly cryptic terms, using obscure metaphors from mythology, religion, and philosophy to describe its creation, believing that only those with true insight could decipher their hidden meanings. They believed that to create the stone, one had to begin with a prima materia, a prime matter often described as common and despised, yet containing the seed of all perfection. This raw material then had to undergo a rigorous and often perilous process of purification, separation, and recombination, mirroring the spiritual journey of the alchemists themselves. The entire process, known as the Great Work, involved numerous meticulously defined stages, each with its own symbolic color and meaning, requiring immense patience, unwavering focus, and a precise control over heat and chemical reactions. The initial stage, often called nigredo, or blackening, involved the putrefaction and dissolution of the raw material, symbolizing chaos, decay, and the breaking down of the old self. This was followed by albedo, or whitening, representing purification, cleansing, and illumination, often associated with the creation of the white stone. Finally, rubedo, or reddening, signified perfection, spiritual awakening, and the ultimate transformation into the red stone, a substance of incredible power and purity. These stages were not just laboratory procedures. They were also seen as deep, transformative stages of inner development for the alchemist, a path towards personal and cosmic harmony and the understanding of divine order. The appearance of the completed Philosopher's Stone was also a subject of much speculation and mystical description, adding to its allure and reinforcing its legendary status. Some ancient texts described it as a red, crystalline powder, possessing an almost supernatural brilliance, shimmering like crushed rubies and radiating a fiery glow, often called the Red King, or tincture of gold. Others referred to it as a white, translucent substance like polished marble or fine salt, known as the White Queen or tincture of silver. Regardless of its exact described color or form, it was always depicted as possessing an intense, almost supernatural radiance, a sign of its perfected state and its incredible potency. The very existence of such a substance, if it could be attained, would redefine the limits of human understanding and power, overturning established scientific and philosophical paradigms. The pursuit of the Philosopher's Stone was, in essence, a lifelong quest for ultimate knowledge, a desperate desire to unlock the universe's deepest secrets, and a testament to the boundless ambition and spiritual yearning of the human spirit in the medieval era. It was a dream that drove generations of alchemists into their dimly lit laboratories, often for decades, fueled by an unshakable hope, an obsessive dedication, and the tantalizing promise of unlocking the greatest secret of all, believing that within their crucibles they could not only find gold, but also uncover the very essence of existence itself. Yet, the ambition of alchemy extended beyond the mere transmutation of inert matter. For many alchemists, particularly those driven by a profound desire for perfection and a deep understanding of the natural world, the ultimate quest intertwined with the pursuit of life itself. This was the second grand objective, deeply connected to the Philosopher's Stone, the creation of the Elixir of Eternal Youth, also known as the Elixir of Life, or the Universal Panacea. In a world where life was often short, brutal, and susceptible to rampant disease, the promise of extended vitality, robust health, and even immortality held an irresistible allure. Sickness, devastating plagues, and early death were constant grim companions in medieval Europe, making the alchemist's tireless search for a substance that could cure all ailments and miraculously prolong existence a noble, even sacred endeavor in the eyes of many. The elixir was envisioned not merely as a simple medicine, but as a profound purifying agent for the human body, capable of washing away impurities, regenerating worn-out tissues, and restoring the full vigor of youth. It was believed that just as the Philosopher's Stone could perfect metals, transforming the base into the noble and pure, so too could the elixir perfect the human form, elevating it beyond its inherent mortal limitations and the inevitable decay of time. The connection between the Elixir of Life and the legendary Philosopher's Stone was often considered entirely inextricable. Many alchemists believed that the stone itself, in its most refined, liquid, or volatile form, was the elixir, a direct emanation of its perfect essence. Others posited that the stone served as the absolutely essential ingredient, or the potent catalyst required to produce the elixir. Thus, the arduous and often secretive journey to create the Philosopher's Stone was simultaneously, and by necessity, the very path to unlocking the profound secrets of longevity. The same intricate processes of careful heating, precise cooling, controlled dissolving, and meticulous refining, performed in the dim, quiet solitude of their laboratories amidst the gentle bubbling of liquids within glass vessels, and the faint, often acrid fumes emanating from their intricate alembics and retorts, were thought to lead to both the gleaming gold of metals and the radiant gold of perpetual health. Alchemists gave many names to this elusive substance, each reflecting its diverse perceived applications and mystical properties. It was sometimes referred to as aurum potabile, or drinkable gold, a concept that merged the tangible physical properties of the most precious metal with its presumed almost miraculous medicinal qualities. Other prevalent terms included aqua vitae, literally the water of life, suggesting a universal solvent that could restore and rejuvenate all organic matter. The pursuit of the elixir was not solely about escaping the physical finality of death. It was also a deeply philosophical quest for a perfect state of being, a profound harmony between body and soul that transcended earthly decay and suffering. It was a direct reflection of the alchemist's deeper yearning for spiritual purity and enlightenment, mirroring the material transformation of lead into gold as a potent metaphor for the soul's own ascent towards divine perfection. The tireless search for the elixir led to countless experiments, many of them inherently dangerous, often involving substances now known to be highly toxic and corrosive. Alchemists meticulously recorded their observations, frequently in cryptic symbols and allegories, both to protect their closely guarded secrets and perhaps to avoid potential accusations of heresy or sorcery from a skeptical society. They patiently distilled rare herbs, potent minerals, and even various animal products, hoping to extract the singular vital essence that would grant eternal youth and boundless health. Though they never achieved their ultimate goal of physical immortality, their relentless pursuit of the elixir, driven by both burgeoning scientific curiosity and profound spiritual ambition, laid foundational groundwork for future empirical sciences. This persistent quest pushed the very boundaries of early chemistry, encouraging systematic experimentation, the development of sophisticated new apparatus, and a progressively deeper understanding of complex chemical reactions, even if their ultimate aims remained deeply steeped in mysticism and ancient lore. The irresistible allure of a life free from sickness, pain, and the relentless ravages of time continued to fuel their fires, a potent and enduring dream nurtured in the cold stone walls of their laboratories, illuminating the path for future generations of natural philosophers and scientists. The quest for these elusive substances, the philosopher's stone and the elixir of eternal youth, was not merely the domain of charlatans or isolated eccentrics. It captivated some of the sharpest intellects of medieval Europe, scholars who sought to understand the fundamental nature of the universe through observation and experimentation, even as they pursued these mystical goals. These were men who moved between the hallowed halls of universities and the often secretive, very smoky confines of their private laboratories, blending profound philosophical thought with practical, hands-on inquiry. One such towering figure was Albertus Magnus, a Dominican friar, revered philosopher, and theologian of the 13th century. You might know him as the esteemed teacher of Thomas Aquinas, one of the most influential thinkers in Western history. Albertus Magnus approached alchemy with a remarkable blend of scholastic rigor and empirical curiosity. He did not simply accept ancient texts at face value. He believed that true knowledge of the natural world required direct observation and systematic experimentation. He viewed alchemy as a legitimate branch of natural philosophy, a means to uncover the hidden laws governing the transformation of matter. His writings, particularly those on minerals and metals, are filled with detailed descriptions of alchemical processes like distillation, calcination, and sublimation, along with the properties of various substances. Imagine him, perhaps by the flickering light of an oil lamp, meticulously noting the changes in a heated crucible, the distinct colors of a precipitate, or the subtle scents emanating from a retort. He sought to understand the why and how of material changes, striving to reconcile the practical arts with the intellectual framework of his time. His work lent significant intellectual credibility to the study of nature, demonstrating that practical experimentation had a place alongside theological and philosophical contemplation. Another brilliant mind who significantly shaped the alchemical landscape was Roger Bacon, a Franciscan friar from England, also active in the 13th century. Bacon was an even more fervent advocate for the empirical method and the crucial role of mathematics in understanding the universe. He argued passionately that true understanding came not from mere speculation or blind adherence to authority, but from direct experience and rigorous observation. In his monumental work, Opus Majus, Bacon championed the idea of an experimental science, a truly revolutionary concept for his era. For Bacon, alchemy was a powerful tool, a practical art that could unveil the profound secrets of nature. He explored its potential for creating potent medicines, for understanding the principles of optics, and even for developing entirely new technologies. It was Bacon, after all, who famously speculated about the possibility of flying machines and self-propelled boats, ideas that sound astonishingly modern for a medieval scholar. His alchemical inquiries were less about the mystical transmutation of gold and more about the systematic investigation of natural phenomena. He sought to understand the underlying principles of change and reaction, pushing the boundaries of what was then considered acceptable inquiry within the strictures of monastic life. These intellectual giants, Albertus Magnus and Roger Bacon, perfectly embodied the complex intellectual ferment of their age. They were deeply religious men, yet they possessed an insatiable curiosity about the material world. Their laboratories, often discreetly established within monastic precincts or private residences, were unique spaces where profound philosophical contemplation converged with the tangible realities of bubbling flasks, roaring furnaces, and the pungent smells of various chemical reactions. They masterfully blended the established scholastic tradition of logical reasoning with hands-on experimentation, slowly and patiently, pushing the boundaries of human understanding. Their contributions, though expressed through the lens of alchemical theory, were absolutely vital steps toward the eventual emergence of the rigorous disciplines of chemistry and experimental science. They demonstrated a profound and lasting shift from passive contemplation to active, systematic inquiry into the very fabric of existence, forever changing the trajectory of scientific thought in Europe. Beyond the philosophical treatises and intellectual debates that defined the intellectual landscape of medieval Europe, the true heart of alchemy beat within the often clandestine confines of the alchemist's laboratory. Imagine, if you will, a small, usually secluded room, perhaps nestled in the quiet depths of a medieval monastery, deep within the sturdy walls of a castle tower, or tucked away in the forgotten damp cellar of a nobleman's estate. The air within was thick, heavy with the subtle, often pungent odors of sulfur, mercury, and various organic compounds slowly simmering over a constant watchful flame. It was an environment of intense heat and a peculiar stillness, broken only by the gentle bubbling of liquids, the faint hiss of escaping steam, or the rhythmic grind of a pestle against a mortar. Dust motes danced in the sparse shafts of light that managed to pierce through tiny, high, often grimy windows, illuminating intricate glassware and the faint shimmer of metallic dust that coated every surface. This was a realm of meticulous observation, demanding endless patience and profound dedication, where the pursuit of transformation demanded absolute, unwavering commitment from its practitioners. The tools of the alchemist were both remarkably simple in their construction and profoundly complex in their application, designed to manipulate matter through various stages of purification and change. Central to many of their operations was the alembic, a distinctive piece of glassware or ceramic apparatus used primarily for distillation. It typically featured a spherical or pear-shaped base, where the substance to be processed was heated, and a wide neck that curved gracefully, narrowing into a downward-sloping arm, which then connected to a receiving flask. This ingenious design allowed for the collection of purified vapor that condensed back into liquid, a process vital for separating components, purifying liquids, and extracting concentrated essences. This was how alchemists sought to create the most potent spirits, or essences of substances, whether for medicinal purposes or as highly refined components for further alchemical reactions. Alongside the alembic, you would frequently find retorts, similar in function but often simpler in design, used for direct heating of solids to produce gases or liquids, especially for reactions at higher temperatures. Furnaces were undoubtedly the lifeblood of the alchemical laboratory, providing the precise and controlled heat necessary for transformation. The Athanor, a particularly fascinating and unique type of furnace, was highly valued for its ability to maintain a steady, low temperature over incredibly extended periods, sometimes for weeks, months, or even years. Its design, often resembling a small tower with a continuous fuel supply, allowed it to mimic the slow, patient, natural processes believed to occur within the Earth's depths, such as the gradual formation of metals within mines. Other furnaces, simpler but capable of generating far more intense heat, were employed for operations requiring extreme temperatures, like the fusion of metals or the rapid calcination of materials. Mortars and pestles, crafted from robust stone, durable iron, or even resilient bronze, were indispensable for grinding minerals, salts, and herbs into fine powders, meticulously preparing them for dissolution in various solvents or for the intense, transformative heat of calcination. Crucibles, small heat-resistant vessels made of clay, graphite, or ceramic, held substances subjected to these intense heats, often to reduce them to ash in the process known as calcination. This was never merely burning, it was viewed as a vital, symbolic, and practical step in purifying a substance, stripping away its impurities, and preparing it for its next alchemical journey, often believed to liberate its true, hidden essence. The alchemist's workspace was, despite its intellectual pursuits, a profoundly dangerous place. The very substances they handled daily, highly volatile mercury, poisonous arsenic compounds, heavy lead, corrosive strong acids like aqua fortis, nitric acid, and aqua regia, a mixture of nitric and hydrochloric acids capable of dissolving gold, and caustic alkalis, were inherently toxic and unstable. Fumes, often invisible and insidious, could slowly poison an alchemist over years of exposure, leading to chronic illness, debilitating tremors, severe skin lesions, and a gradual, agonizing decline in cognitive and physical health. Explosions were a constant, terrifying threat within this confined spaces, as volatile compounds were heated in sealed or improperly vented vessels, or when unpredictable reactions suddenly went awry, violently shattering fragile glassware and scattering corrosive chemicals or molten metals across the floor. The omnipresent danger of open flames, intense heat, and hot apparatus meant severe burns were an everyday hazard for the unwary or the unlucky. Many alchemists worked in profound isolation, their secrets guarded fiercely not just from rivals, but from the prying eyes of authorities who might accuse them of heresy or witchcraft. This intense secrecy, while protecting their intellectual property and their very lives from accusations of fraud or forbidden knowledge, also amplified the inherent risks of their chosen path, leaving them without immediate assistance if an accident occurred. Yet, despite these harrowing perils and the ever-present threat of physical harm or even death, the unwavering pursuit of knowledge, the promise of the philosopher's stone, and the hope of ultimate transformation drove these dedicated individuals onward. They were pioneers in their field, often unknowingly, laying crucial groundwork for future scientific understanding and experimental methodology, even as they navigated a world filled with both profound, almost mystical, potential, and inherent, very real, danger. Their practical achievements, born from these often crude, frequently perilous experiments, contributed significantly to the nascent fields of metallurgy, the development of new pigments for art and industry, and the refining of pharmaceutical techniques, all emerging from the intense, demanding, and often perilous crucible of their relentless, unending inquiry. Beyond the intricate dance of distillation and calcination within the alchemist's solitary workshop lay a complex web of relationships and profound secrecy, often fraught with peril. These practitioners, dedicated to the mysteries of transformation, rarely operated in isolation. Many depended on the generosity and ambition of powerful patrons, kings, dukes, wealthy nobles, and even high-ranking clergy. These benefactors saw in alchemy not just a path to knowledge, but a potential gateway to unimaginable wealth and power. Imagine the allure for a monarch struggling with dwindling coffers to suddenly possess a method for turning common lead into pure, gleaming gold. Or perhaps the promise of an elixir that could cure all maladies, extending their own life or that of their heirs, securing a dynasty for centuries. Such patronage provided the alchemist with the necessary resources, the expensive raw materials like mercury, antimony, or rare minerals, the specialized glassware, the constant heat for furnaces, and the secure private space essential for their clandestine work. A silent, watchful guard might stand at the laboratory door, ensuring no prying eyes witnessed the delicate processes within. However, this support came with immense pressure. The alchemist was expected to deliver results to justify the considerable investment. Failure to produce the promised gold or the life-giving draft could lead to severe consequences. A patron's patience was often as fleeting as the alchemical smoke rising from an alembic. Secrecy was not merely a preference for the alchemist, it was a fundamental principle deeply ingrained in their practice. This intense guardedness stemmed from multiple sources. Firstly, if the great work, the magnum opus, was indeed successful, The knowledge of transmuting base metals into gold would be of incalculable value. Sharing it indiscriminately could destabilize economies, diminish the value of existing gold, or attract dangerous rivals. Secondly, the alchemists often believed their work was a sacred trust, a spiritual quest that required purity of intention and deep understanding, not to be revealed to the uninitiated or the impure of heart. Their texts were deliberately obscure, filled with allegories, cryptic symbols, and coded language, making them almost impenetrable to outsiders. A green lion might refer not to an animal, but to a specific chemical compound, and the marriage of the sun and moon could describe a precise chemical reaction. This deliberate ambiguity protected their insights, ensuring only those truly dedicated and spiritually prepared could decipher the hidden meanings. Yet, this secrecy also served as a shield against a more immediate threat: accusation. In an age where the lines between natural philosophy, magic, and heresy were often blurred, an alchemist's failed experiment or unfulfilled promise could quickly brand them a charlatan, a sorcerer, or even a blasphemer. Laws against counterfeiting or debasing coinage were strict, and if an alchemist's attempts at gold-making were perceived as fraudulent, the penalties were brutal. Imprisonment, torture, or even execution awaited those deemed to have deceived their patrons or dabbled in forbidden arts. The flickering light of the furnace, meant to bring forth transformation, could just as easily cast long, accusing shadows. Beyond the legal and social dangers, the very act of experimentation carried inherent physical risks. The alchemist's workshop was a hazardous place. They frequently handled highly toxic substances without any understanding of their dangers: mercury, arsenic, lead, and various corrosive acids. The air in these confined spaces would often be thick with noxious fumes, slowly poisoning the practitioner. Accidents were common. Glassware could shatter under heat or pressure, volatile mixtures could explode, and fires were a constant threat from open flames and hot coals. The alchemist often worked in isolation, sometimes for days or weeks, lost in their pursuit, surrounded by the cold stone walls of their laboratory, the faint, acrid smell of sulfur, and unknown compounds clinging to the air. Many alchemists suffered from chronic illnesses, their bodies slowly succumbing to the cumulative effects of the substances they so carefully manipulated. Their quest for eternal life or boundless wealth was, ironically, often a journey that shortened their own existence, a silent sacrifice made in the name of profound curiosity and an unyielding belief in the transformative power of matter. Yet, amidst this profound secrecy and the relentless pursuit of gold, a quiet but significant shift began to ripple through the alchemical world. The constant manipulation of substances, the meticulous observation of reactions, the endless trials and failures inadvertently led alchemists down paths they had not initially intended to explore. Their hands, often stained and calloused from tending the roaring furnaces and handling the delicate retorts, were not merely seeking the transformation of lead into a gleaming noble metal. They were also, unknowingly, laying the groundwork for a new, more empirical understanding of the material world itself. This evolving understanding soon found its most potent expression in a new branch of the art: iatrochemistry. This term, combining iatros meaning healer or physician with chemistry, represented the application of alchemical principles and discoveries directly to medicine. For centuries, healing had long relied heavily on herbal remedies, the balance of humors and traditional practices often steeped in ancient lore. But alchemists, with their unique insights into extraction, distillation, and the properties of minerals and metals, began to seek out more potent, more refined cures for human ailments. They painstakingly learned to distill potent essences from plants, creating tinctures and spirits far more concentrated and effective than simple infusions. They tirelessly explored the medicinal properties of various metals and minerals, seeking to purify and combine them into novel compounds that could combat disease. The very same glass retorts, clay crucibles, and intricate alembics, once exclusively used in the fervent chase for the Philosopher's Stone, now began to yield powerful new substances with immediate therapeutic potential. Strong mineral acids, such as aqua fortis, which we now know as nitric acid, capable of dissolving silver, or even aqua regia, meaning royal water, a mixture potent enough to dissolve gold itself, were not just tools for transmutation. These powerful new substances, once born from the alchemist's grand, perhaps misguided ambitions, began to reveal their own inherent unique properties, hinting at a structured, predictable universe of chemical reactions, independent of mystical intent. This systematic approach, born from the alchemist's persistent experimentation, was a crucial departure from mere philosophical speculation. While their overarching theories remained deeply steeped in arcane symbolism and mystical belief, their practical method became increasingly empirical and methodical. They meticulously cataloged observations, refined their techniques for separating and purifying substances, and innovated sophisticated laboratory equipment, improving upon designs that had remained unchanged for centuries. The desire to create gold, while never entirely abandoned, gradually began to share its central stage with the more immediate, tangible, and often incredibly useful results of their everyday experiments. Every distillation, every calcination, every precipitation, every long hour spent watching a liquid boil or a solid transform, even if it failed to produce the desired gold, invariably offered new, invaluable knowledge about how different substances behaved, reacted, and transformed under various conditions. The alchemist, in his smoky, dimly lit workshop, surrounded by bubbling flasks, glowing furnaces, and the pungent scent of various chemical vapors, was not just a solitary mystic pursuing an impossible dream. He was, in essence, an early experimental scientist, albeit one still cloaked in layers of secrecy, ancient lore, and a profound misunderstanding of the true nature of matter. He was, unwittingly, identifying what we would later call elements, discovering what we would label as compounds, and painstakingly mapping the very landscape of the material world, one careful, often dangerous, experiment at a time. This quiet revolution, the slow unearthing of fundamental chemical principles from within the mystical, often convoluted shell of alchemy, marked a profound turning point in human intellectual history. It was a journey from the pursuit of the impossible to the discovery of the practical, from the esoteric and hidden to the empirical and verifiable. The whispers of change, once faint and barely discernible amidst the grand pronouncements of philosophical gold, grew steadily louder, promising a new era of understanding, where the deepest secrets of the universe might be unlocked not by magic or divine intervention, but by meticulous observation, systematic experimentation, and controlled inquiry. The age of pure alchemy, though still powerful and influential for centuries to come, was slowly, almost imperceptibly, giving way to the dawn of a more systematic inquiry, a rigorous discipline that would eventually evolve into what we now recognize as modern chemistry. The very tools and techniques developed in the alchemist's quest for ultimate truth became the foundation for a scientific revolution. From this fertile ground, a profound and multifaceted legacy emerged, shaping the very foundations of how humanity would come to understand and interact with the material universe. Alchemy, despite its often mystical and esoteric aspirations, bequeathed to the future a crucial set of intellectual tools and a robust spirit of inquiry. You see, the alchemists, in their relentless pursuit of transformation, whether of base metals into gold or of the human body into an immortal vessel, were compelled by the very nature of their work to observe with meticulous care, to record their findings with diligence, to repeat their experiments tirelessly, and to refine their processes with an ever-increasing precision. This methodical and iterative approach, born from the immediate necessity of managing their intricate and often hazardous experiments, became an indispensable cornerstone of the scientific method itself. They were, in essence, early pioneers of empirical investigation, even if their ultimate goals remained elusive. They designed, built, and perfected a wide array of specialized apparatus for complex chemical operations. The alembic, crucial for distillation and condensation. The retort, used for heating substances in the absence of air. Filtration systems for separating liquids from solids. And calcination techniques for reducing substances to ashes. These ingenious instruments and the precise techniques for their use, once serving the grand, often fantastical quest for gold and immortality, later became the indispensable and fundamental equipment for chemists seeking to understand the true elemental nature of matter and the intricate composition of compounds. Beyond the refinement of method and the invention of apparatus, alchemy's direct contributions to the burgeoning field of metallurgy were immense and undeniable. Their deep, hands-on engagement with various metals, their persistent efforts to purify, alloy, and transform them led to an unparalleled practical knowledge of these substances. Alchemists mastered techniques for extracting metals from their raw ores, for creating stronger and more resilient alloys, and for subtly manipulating the inherent properties of metals through precise applications of heat and carefully controlled chemical reactions. This was not merely abstract theoretical knowledge. It was a gritty, often dangerous, but always illuminating and transformative work that advanced the craft of metalworking significantly, laying the groundwork for industrial processes that would follow centuries later. In the realm of medicine, the alchemists, particularly those who embraced the principles of iatrochemistry, ventured boldly beyond the traditional reliance on herbal remedies and folk cures. They sought to penetrate deeper, to understand the active, potent principles hidden within substances, and to create more effective, more potent, and more precise medicines through carefully controlled chemical processes. They were among the first to systematically prepare and utilize mineral acids, various salts, and concentrated tinctures, meticulously experimenting with their specific effects on the human body and its ailments. While some of their remedies might appear crude or even outright dangerous, when viewed through the lens of modern medical science, their revolutionary shift towards chemically prepared and standardized drugs marked an utterly pivotal moment in the history of pharmacology. This pioneering work laid the essential groundwork for modern pharmaceutical science, introducing the radical concept that diseases might stem from chemical imbalances within the body, and thus chemical solutions were required to restore health, a profoundly advanced notion for their era. As the great tide of the scientific revolution steadily gained its irresistible momentum, the overtly mystical and deeply spiritual dimensions of alchemy began, quite naturally, to recede from the forefront of serious scientific inquiry. The overarching focus gradually but decisively shifted from the grand, unproven claims of transmutation and immortality towards the rigorous pursuit of quantifiable observations, the systematic design of repeatable experiments, and the painstaking development of universal, verifiable natural laws. Alchemy, as a singular unified scientific discipline, slowly but surely transformed itself, shedding its more esoteric, cryptic skin to reveal the more rational and structured nascent form of modern chemistry. Yet, its profound influence did not, by any means, vanish entirely. The deeply ingrained alchemical quest for ultimate perfection, for radical transformation, for the hidden, fundamental unity of all matter and spirit, these powerful archetypal ideas continued to resonate deeply within philosophical thought, inspiring works of art, and even influencing the nascent field of psychology. Carl Jung, for instance, the renowned Swiss psychiatrist, saw the intricate alchemical processes not as literal chemical reactions, but as profound symbolic representations of internal psychological transformation, the journey of individuation, and the integration of the conscious and unconscious self. Thus, alchemy's enduring legacy is far more than a mere collection of intriguing but ultimately failed experiments, or a discarded heap of superseded theories. It represents a vital and indispensable bridge between the rich tapestry of ancient mystical traditions and the rigorous, evidence-based empirical science that so profoundly shaped the modern world. It stands unequivocally as a powerful testament to humanity's unyielding curiosity, its insatiable desire to understand, to control, and ultimately to transcend the perceived limitations of the material world. It serves as a profound reminder that even when the chosen path is shrouded in mystery, and the ultimate goals appear fantastical or unattainable, the very act of seeking knowledge, of relentless experimentation, of persistent questioning, can unlock truly profound truths and forge the essential tools for future unimagined discoveries. The alchemical dream, though never fully realized in its original literal form, nonetheless propelled generations of brilliant thinkers to observe, to innovate, and to lay the very groundwork for the scientific age. Its influence extended far beyond the laboratory bench, deeply impacting not just how we meticulously study the world, but also how we profoundly imagine its boundless, hidden possibilities, whispering to us still of the endless journey of transformation.